The whole, like, in moderation, I think that's marketing that's being used again. I think that's a slippery slope. Like, is a little bit of heroin, like, probably not, probably not a good idea. So this whole like 80-20, and it kills me how you turn on the TV and you're watching commercials, you see a drug commercial from Big Pharma for Trulicity, a type 2 diabetes drug, and the subliminal messaging is all about living this healthy lifestyle, eating clean, moving, and taking your Trulicity. The very next commercial is for pizza or your Starbucks or your slushy from Sonic or whatever it is. It's like the media is selling you processed food and sugar that promotes the disease, and then they try to sell you the drug to manage it. Like, people need to wake up.
Hello everyone, it's Daria Tiesler, and something special myself and my guest we have prepared for you. It's a Christmas special, and I have named this or called this Holistic Health Awakening with a message of hope that cannot be lost. And I would like to give a voice to someone special. We created very holistic friendship with Brendan. I really would love that you guys know this person, follow him. He has so many amazing informations that I would like that you kind of absorb, right? Sometimes they are difficult, but he does this in an amazing way. But once again, Brendan, welcome, and please give a few words about you to our audience.
Absolutely. It's so good to be here with you, Daria. I truly love you, and we have created a very special friendship and connection. So everybody listening, go follow HPM Wellness right now, because I feel really excited about what we're about to do. I think a message of hope that can't be lost is what the world needs now more than ever. I think faith is the antidote to fear. I think hope is the antidote to fear. I think unity is the antidote to separation and isolation and division. So I think this will be a great conversation.
Brendan, how people can find you?
That's at the Holistic Savage on Instagram. That's my main platform.
Fantastic, Holistic Savage. So then, the goal of this short recording and short session is to give a summary of 2021, and myself and Brendan, we want to give you perspective about holistic health and how can you take what has happened during this year, and we're going to cover different topics and unravel this or further self-discover for yourself in 2022. So it's a message of hope, as we said. Okay, Brendan, I'm just going to throw the words. You give your work and I give my input. Go with a word: inflammation.
The whole driving factor of this whole thing. So the more you can create an anti-inflammatory diet, lifestyle, everything, and manage your inflammation, it's more important than ever before.
Right, I agree with you, Brendan. And what I wanted to add into that, Brendan mentioned food and lifestyle. I want that everyone think inflammation also is driven by our emotions and the way our environment interacts with us, right? And that comes the fear. Fear creates inflammation. So be aware of that. And so we're going to talk in a few moments about mindfulness, and we're going to share what you might be able to do with that. Fantastic. Immunity.
We need to develop more immune resilience, which also very much coincides with developing an anti-inflammatory mindset, lifestyle, all the above. That's how we boost our immunity, is bringing down inflammation. So those two go hand in hand.
Those two goes together. Brendan, what further tips, what people can do to support their immunity?
It all starts with, as you mentioned, the mindset. Any of that stress, worry, fear, those negative emotions suppress immunity and promote inflammation. The environment, getting your environment cleaned up. and getting your lifestyle on lock with the diet, the exercise, the sleep hygiene, supplements, that's supplemental, medications when needed, right? So it starts with the mindset, the environment, the lifestyle.
Yeah, 100% agree. Again, stress is a big factor to suppression of the immunity, and I think there is not enough stress on that. We're not talking about, you getting some noises here, the side effects of stuff after, in athletes, right? Athletes are under a very high level of, I've been thinking about that, right? I've been athlete and I'm like, I've been under very high inflammatory and immune response. And I've been sick all the time as an athlete, right? And we need to keep thinking that if you are under the stress for any reasons, your immunity is just dropping down. And as you said, nutrition, sleep, relationships, exercise, right? It's all very relevant and very important. So in 2022, we're still working on anti-immunity supporting nutrition and on anti-inflammatory nutrition, right?
Absolutely. And, to your point about athletes and stress, an appropriate amount of exercise and being fit makes you more immune, less inflamed, but there are those that take it too far and they're doing too much exercise, too hard on the body, and that's just further stressing out the body and things start breaking down, more inflammation, less immunity. So, most people, they're not exercising enough and they're not fit enough, but there is that other extreme that they're overdoing it and it's more of a punishment on their body, and that's not helpful either. So balance is key.
Yeah, and we get back to that topic when we talk about movement, right? That's so important. Vitamin D, zinc, and vitamin C.
I wish that we were dispensing those to the population, like India did successfully. I wish that we weren't censoring information about the efficacy of these nutraceuticals that most Americans are deficient in. So yes to all the above, take them, you need them, everybody does.
Yes, and there is enough scientific literature to back things up, right? So we are not making things up. There is a suppression of immunity through stress. The underlying cause of many chronic or most of chronic diseases is inflammation, and vitamin D and zinc and vitamin C have a role. And when you're learning the biology class, Brendan, I don't know if you remember, vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C. First thing what is written, supports immunity. Thing of vitamin D is make sure you test yourself. Number one thing, because people, I think, Brendan, assuming that taking 2,000 or 1,000 international units of vitamin D that they're going to buy in pharmacy is going to be enough. And that's what I have been observing. That's wrong. Go first test yourself and then find a practitioner and set a correct dose. I don't know. What do you think?
I would agree. I mean, there's going to be like a more maintenance dose, prophylactic dose that kind of safe, like nobody's going to do wrong with that, but it's so bio-individualized. So test, don't guess, measure your zinc levels, your vitamin D levels. Vitamin C, you can't really test accurately. Testing for nutrient balance is really, really hard and finicky, but those three are great. And then also I might add cysteine, selenium, and that's a pretty basic stack by fish oil,
Yes.
some of the basics that most people need.
Outside of good nutrition, right? And we tackled that topic already. Yes, exactly. Yes, fantastic. Brendan, your topic, your take, mental health, brain health, and inflammation of the brain.
At an all-time crisis, which is why I do what I do. And I've got good career longevity and career stability with that, because neuroinflammation is really the culprit behind the mental health crisis. Big Pharma is already creating new anti-inflammatory drugs to sell to you that also tend to suppress immunity. So it might improve your mental health, but now you're more susceptible to infection. But don't worry, they have a shot for that. They have a drug for that, right? So if you don't want to be slave to Big Pharma and stuck on all the drugs forever and ever, you need to bring down your bodily inflammation and your brain inflammation. That's going to be how you improve your mental health.
You know what I like about what is happening is that finally, even we, as a practitioner of holism, practically beginning to understand that our body, everything is connected, right? Because we knew about brain before, but why we didn't discuss brain inflammation, right? And then you suddenly starting to think maybe it's not just gut, maybe it's not just joints, maybe it's not immunity, but maybe everything that drives something or chronic disease is brain inflammation. Right, so for my intake, go to my podcast, and there is a beautiful podcast we have recorded with Brendan that is dedicated to mental health, and you have 60 minutes of learning about it. So definitely good stuff for 2022. Exercise, movement.
Well, I mean, that's my background, and it's weird because now that I operate in the functional medicine space, that's really where my career is. It amazes me how most people are still not doing the exercise, right? And you don't have to be a fitness junkie. You don't have to do all these fancy movements like you see the fitness influencers on Instagram. That's not reality, but everybody needs to be exercising. If you're medically stable, you should be exercising, and it's about having an appropriate exercise regimen that meets where you're at and helps you progress. So it's essential, absolutely essential.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you on everything. I could probably only ask you the questions. We don't answer, give my answer. But where I'm coming today with exercise, Brendan, is just through the last 3 years. I have been mother, right? And I haven't got that much time to follow my routine from before pregnancy, right? And obviously the lockdowns did not support it, right? I did work a lot from home, training from home. Then I had breaks because I would be not sleeping. And again, comes personalization. You began to choose, if you're enough aware, and we come to awareness at some point of our conversation, what is better for you, training or sleeping. If you as a mother, and that was my case, have just 1 hour, right? I have chosen sleep because I have been moving. So still I have been doing my 15,000 or 10,000 or 7,000 steps. That is actually interesting. There is no research that said about 10,000 steps when I done my research. It's saying that that was used as a marketing tool, the 10,000, that's your benefits for health began from already 4,000 steps, right? But sometimes people even don't do 4,000 steps, right? So and you mentioned this, it's personalizing what works for you, but make sure you are moving, right? Obviously, I'm opponent of making sure we're doing weight training that support the insulin resistance and inflammation and lowering and supporting hormones changes and improving, optimizing this. But you have to begin to personalize. As you said at the start, sometimes too much is bad. If you are under high stress, then you're going on high intensity training, and then you're doing weight training, and then you wake up in the morning for long cardio. That's a little bit too much.
Absolutely. I think you offered a really good perspective there because, some people might look at me and be like, well, he's a young, single independent guy. Like, of course, he's going to work out all the time and I'm not him and he can. But that's very relatable of you to say, like, you're a mom, you have a kid, you have responsibilities. You only have we all have the same 24 hours in the day. So that's where I think people, they overwhelm themselves with like, oh, well, if I can't do some intense exercise regimen, they get so overwhelmed that then they don't do anything. And it's like, that's not the point. It's meeting you where you're at with the time constraints that you have. Even just like sprinkling in some squats and pull-ups and push-ups and extra steps like throughout the day, just moving regularly, that can still be enough. But movement is medicine. So just start moving more and be consistent with it.
Yes, and it's coming just to my head because I don't think also this is stressed enough. Exercise supporting immune system,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they are draining. Okay, not they draining. The heart is pumping blood down, right? What moves blood up is movement, and
Mhm.
often when we have toxicity or stagnation of the lymph, and then how body has to clear the white blood cells that are keep in fighting with infection, right?
Mhm.
And people sitting on the sofa, right, during the lockdowns. Shit, disaster. This is recipe for disaster, right? So now the message is for those women and men who listen. If you lock down, and I meant to talk about lockdown wellness later, you do not have excuse to do something. Because what I'm hearing now, Brendan, I don't know, is, oh, now I'm at home, I want to go to the gym. But when you were having opportunity to go to the gym, you were moaning, sorry, I'm stressed here, you were moaning that the gym is too far and you don't have time, right? We have to start to reevaluate what we also telling to ourselves, right? And as you said, doing few push-ups, few something, it's going to be always helping you, right? So if you don't want to train half an hour, just do some stretches or something.
Yeah.
But again, think about personalization, right? Because I'm saying I've been moving, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've had past clients lose over 100 pounds in 6 months. Everybody has had 2 years. You know, what are you doing to build resilience, to build immunity through this? Like, everybody has more time at home in isolation than ever before. What are you doing with that time? You know, sitting on the couch eating processed food, or working on your health?
Yes. Insulin resistance.
Well, 43% of Americans are diabetic. 70% are overweight or obese. 88% are metabolically ill. You know, I think insulin resistance, along with the fatty liver and the leaky gut and everything that goes with insulin resistance, which also drives inflammation and neurodegeneration. Insulin resistance is one of the main metabolic insults that we need to ameliorate at the collective level. And it's all lifestyle and environment. You know, drugs just manage it, supplements can help, but it's all environment and lifestyle.
Yes, we know for a long time now that diabetes type 2 is preventable disease, right? It is not because
Reversible,
of your
preventable.
genes, right? You can reverse this and move things on the right path. From me, one intake is be a little bit more detective in regards blood sugar regulations. So when you go and you're testing your blood glucose and they tell you it's fine, but you still have difficulty to lose weight, you feel tired, and despite calorie counting and all of this, still the weight is stagnating, right? You might feel sugar cravings, right? Blood sugar dysregulation, you know, feeling low energy afternoon. Investigate fasting insulin as a first thing to do, because from my experience, usually insulin is high, blood glucose is okay, and then you are in pre-diabetic stage before, you know, your glucose goes up. And I don't think people just now are measuring this. So this is my kind of one thing ahead to think about.
Yeah, I created a lab panel that I call the Metabolic Map that measures the glucose, the HbA1c, fructosamine. I prefer C-peptide over fasting insulin, but either one works. And then leptin, you know, those are great biomarkers to track, you know, over the course of time. And that's going to be a very sensitive way to see, is your health building routine working? Are your numbers getting better? So those are really good biomarkers to use.
And I think ways to keep pressure, from what I'm seeing all and over again, is a pretty good indicator also of predisposition to get metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance. So some form of measurement, because I think body fat is okay, but it's not easy to measure correctly body fat, right? Like by the caliper, or what do you think? What they could do at home? from measurement
Yeah,
perspective?
it's a hard thing to get. Like it's one of those, like if you're going to do calipers or, circumference pictures, just body pictures of yourself, it's good. Circumference is easy. Calipers is good, but you need a trained professional. DEXA scan is the gold standard, but you have to go to a lab, a sports medicine lab. Bioelectrical impedance, those are really good if you have access to one. But yeah, body fat percentage is so crucial to track. We know that body fat produces all sorts of inflammatory molecules. The higher your body fat percentage is, you got work to do. You need to measure that, bring it down. There's no excuses with that one.
Yes, so as we talk in body composition, let's discuss this, because this is one of my topic, Brendan, body composition, because I think finally getting to the point, but body composition is important for health. It's not just important because allowed you to see your six packs for a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the message: get lean, get lean, get lean, right?
Yeah.
And then you have photos before and after. I got my transformation, and all of this is cool, right? If you go on holiday, if you go with a, I don't know, wedding, but I think we began to see body composition and importance of it for health, as you mentioned, that fat tissue drives inflammation if it's too much, right? And has all this inflammatory cytokines, and those little things are flying there, and they go into trigger further inflammatory responses, right? And I always tell my female clients, you've got good fat and bad fat, right? This is that white and brown, right? So you want better ratio of that. But for me, 2022, and message is, with body composition, focus on creating enough lean muscle mass. Don't overstress with being too lean, right? Because that is also craziness around this. But that has to support your health, your longevity, aging, right? There is so much coming recently with how important is muscle mass for brain aging. So people don't get in dementia, the Alzheimer, all those brain issues, right? Even I think recently I was reading about menopause and how it's important for menopausal and postmenopausal women having good ratio of lean muscle mass. So that is my message about body composition. What about you, Brendan?
Well, I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because we don't want the audience to get the wrong impression of like, okay, you're saying to get lean, so I'm going to focus on losing weight and trying to lose body fat. The way that you get lean is focus your efforts on building lean mass. And that's a very different thing than trying to burn off fat mass, because it's the most like common mistake that you see all the time is people start trying to eat less calories and moving more, doing a lot of cardio. So that doesn't work. You got to focus on building lean mass. You eat to fuel the growth of muscle. You train to stimulate the need to grow muscle. So it's more about building lean muscle, not trying to burn fat. That's the way that you get lean.
I love it. Always he does nice English-driven explanation of what I want to say, right?
It. Yeah.
Okay. Obesity.
Well, like I said before, 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. And we know that obesity is, if you're obese, you have a 55% greater likelihood of developing a mental illness. Right? Like you said, we know that the extra fat tissue, it releases more aromatase, so then you're estrogen dominant. It releases more interleukin-6, which can drive depression, neuroinflammation, neurodegeneration. So how do we combat the obesity epidemic? Like you said, I mean, we got to build lean mass. We got to fuel that with clean, whole food, organic, avoid the glyphosate, contaminated stuff, stop eating processed food. I saw that movie Soul from Pixar, which was adorable, and the little characters like, stop eating those processed foods. And, seriously, stop eating it. Even Pixar is telling you stop eating processed food. So
Yes. It probably comes to question about food policies, right, Brendan? We have to stop to believing that they want good for us, right? You need to want to good for yourself. And I think we need to want to educate ourselves more about biology of human, how human work. Those things, eat little bit sugar is good for you. And I've been thinking about this. I said, no, where is written that is good for you, right?
Yeah.
Same like alcohol. Oh, one small glass of wine
Yeah.
is okay for you. And I'm like, okay, depending, for one person is good, for another not. But for example, for female, drinking alcohol is bad thing, right?
Yeah.
I think if I remember very well, on A4M, I was doing cardiology module with Mark Houston. I'm pronouncing well, yes. And I think Dr. Mark was saying about research that showed that 20 milliliters, if I'm correct, of wine is what is bringing benefits to our body. Not less than 20 milliliters, and not more than that, of probably good quality of red wine, right? Yes, that was my.
I think that the whole like in moderation, I think that's marketing that's being used again. I think that's a slippery slope. Like, is a little bit of heroin, like probably not, probably not a good idea. So this whole like 80-20, and it kills me how you turn on the TV and you're watching commercials. You see a drug commercial from Big Pharma for Trulicity, a type 2 diabetes drug. And, the subliminal messaging is all about living this healthy lifestyle, eating clean, moving, and taking your Trulicity. The very next commercial is for pizza or your Starbucks or your slushy from Sonic or whatever it is. It's like the media is selling you processed food and sugar that promotes the disease, and then they try to sell you the drug to manage it. Like, people need to wake up.
Yes, I agree. Health awakening moment,
Yeah.
guys. Stress.
Stress culture. Why busier is not better. That's something that I've been reflecting on a lot lately. I don't know where this whole like busy culture, it's so ego driven is what it is. This ego maniac world that we live in of like have to do more, be more, not good enough, and whatever. Busier is not better. You're just stressing yourself out, and you're not spending time sitting with yourself to accomplish eudaimonic nirvana. You're just egocentrically chasing pleasure and instant gratification for more clickbait. You know what I mean?
I think this be more, it's correct, because sometimes when I write my blogs or articles, was coming like a transform into more, be something, right? And I'm like, is that correct? And I think you're right? It's not about being more, but about finding yourself, for me, in all of this, and be who is actually you. Doesn't matter if you more, if you less, because you still have to kind of feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that do need to be more, like be more active, be more happy, be with loved ones more. Like, so there are people that need to do more, be more.
Yeah.
It's just.
And Brendan, again, exactly explaining what I wanted to say, right? But Brendan, exactly, in those things more, right? But sometimes, as you're saying, be more, have more work, have more, those type of things that are very stimulating.
Yeah.
This nervous system in a negative way. That's what we don't want more, right?
Yeah.
More travel, more trips, more,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Mindfulness.
Well, on the note of mindfulness, I was just looking at my notes because I wrote this down a while back, and I think it's appropriate here, where I think the secret to life is to produce more than you consume, give more than you take, and love more than you hate. So I think to our past 2 points, I think that's really relevant as far as do more, be more, or busier is not better, or mindfulness. I think that's kind of the secret to life.
My thing is, I had a great podcast with Dr. Naomi Rask, one about mindfulness and embodiment, and another with Caroline Welch. And my intake is, in my own experience, that right now, me and you, Brendan, are in a mindfulness process. This is the moment. Our conversation is already mindfulness. And this is referring to what you said. More moments of that, right? And you said also something what I have heard from one psychologist I have also had the pleasure to have podcast with. And she said, and you mentioned that we have to find, like I said, hope in all of this, what is happening, and do something with this time. Don't just completely lose ourselves, but try to search for opportunities that this situation brings us, because it is depressing when you go on the TV, when you listen radio, right? And I observe my parents-in-law, right? This is that age 70 in Spain when TV is the driver, right? And the TV tells the truth, right? And then comes me and my husband, and we tell him something they never heard about, right? But we decided to spend more time with them, right? That's we got an opportunity to do that. I decided to further focus on, driving my work so I can help more people, right? And also driving things online is not easy, it's new for me, but I took this as an opportunity, right? Opportunity to work on yourself, or doing things that you wouldn't be doing in the past, right? So that's for me that present moment and mindfulness is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we need a lot more love and unity. They are actively trying to divide us and get us mad at each other, because it's easier to manipulate a population that way. It's easier to control a population that way. We can't fall into their traps and their games. We have to be loving, compassionate, united. That's the only way forward. And we've known that as a species for as long as we've been on this earth. So.
And you said compassion, I think both sides have to keep understanding why someone makes this decision, not on another decision, right? Because yes, you're right. The division is the killer here, right? So we have to unite. Transformation.
I think we need transformation at the collective level, right? And there is a collective awakening happening, and it's being censored, it's being suppressed, oppressed, but it's happening, and I think if we all knew, because it's like in America, there's no media coverage of like what's going on in Canada or Australia or the United Kingdom. But if we all were connecting with one another and communicating, and we're all united against whatever this kind of, corrupt plot is, right? Like, so, we all feel so isolated, and they're using the media against us. But I think we need to recognize, like, we're all waking up. We're all trying to transform. So we have to unite in that.
Yeah. And Brendan talked about, I feel, Brendan, this beyond body-mind transformation, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you meant, right? Don't you? And that is where I also wanted to say, what I wanted to add. Brendan is so right, because it's not anymore about body transformation. This is where we've heard in health and fitness industry that word. Let's transform your body, right? Let's lose weight and, do photos before and after. And here again, we're going in this 2020 with transformation of wholeness, right? Yeah. Body, mind, and spirit, and whatever you call it, has to change in order for you to kind of be new human, to start to have a different perspective and different way of seeing. And that's always what I would be telling to my clients who would come for a body transformation. I said, you may transform your body, but if you don't transform your mind and you don't start to think differently, you don't transform what is inside you, you get back to what you were at the start.
Right.
This is embodiment. Your body embodies whatever happened inside, outside of you, and you get in body fat issue, right? This is where this element of outside of food, right? We talking that cause that we gaining weight, right? The psychological component.
Absolutely. Yeah, the body follows the mind and spirit. So if you're trying to transform your life, you have to focus on, the spirit and the mind, and the body will just follow suit in time.
Calorie counting.
Say, macro tracking is going to be better than calorie counting, but mindfulness is better than macro counting. So, you want to get to mindfulness, which takes time. It's a skill. Don't even bother with calories. If you're going to monitor that way, try to go for macros, but more importantly, develop the mindfulness to go with it.
What I want to point out is that we need to start to care more about the quality of food we eat, stop to constantly obsessing about eating less, especially for weight loss, and start to addressing the triggers, right? And neither me, neither Brendan will tell you go and eat 3,000 of calories of crap. Right, don't you, Brendan?
Yeah.
Right, but go and eat of 3,000 calories of good food. You won't be able to do that because nutrients are bottle of nutrients. And this is why I think fasting partly work. People not feeling hungry on fasting. Why? Because if they're getting good food, right, then their body does not crave more.
Fasting.
Intuitive fasting, right? Don't try to follow some fasting prescription or, okay, I fast 18 hours and then I shove my face for 6. Like, no, food freedom. Eat when you feel like you need to eat to stay energetically stable. And if you don't feel the need to eat, then you're not getting those hunger signals. Write it out, fast. So fasting is a skill, and that's an advanced skill. Develop basic mindfulness and master basic nutritional habits before you make it more complicated with fasting protocols.
I 100% agree with you. Become too complicated. The different science comes all the time. 8 hours, 6 hours, 14 hours better than 12 hours. Morning better than evening, evening better than morning. Right? I think again, your body knows when you're supposed to eat less. It's the problem. We are not listening enough. Your body, our bodies, and again, different. My feedback from female is that fasting sometimes overwhelm them. Where I have a feedback from males customers that fasting works very well for them, right? So there is something probably related to our hormones, maybe menstrual cycle. We also have in different ratio how things work in our body. That would be my intake on that.
Okay. I would agree with that. I think women tend to not respond nearly as well. Men, usually it goes pretty well. But to your point, it's the mindfulness of your biofeedback, your hunger, your energy, your cravings, your mood, being very sensitive and paying attention to that and letting those biofeedback signals that you're mindfully listening to, that determines when you eat and when you don't eat.
And have patience, as you said, Brendan, is a skill. You learning, but I think it's our prime skill.
Yeah,
we know it is just has been forgotten, probably because of the type of lifestyle we're running. We kind of lost connection with who we are and ourselves. Diets.
Diet's a weird world. It's a weird word, and diet culture, we just keep making it more complicated, and I don't know why. It's even worse now of like vegan, plant-based, keto, carnivore, paleo, intermittent fasting. It's like, stop with the nonsense. Let's just eat real food, try to source it as clean, organic, less contamination, listen to our bodies, mindful eating, balanced meals, plant, animal food. Stop with the specialized diets. It's not helpful.
Yes, and I also would like to add that when you then do this, and then this does not work, then you start to dig deeper, and then you began to work with someone who has more scope and can guide you further, and then you may start to look more for specialized nutrition, temporary therapeutical programs to kind of take a pressure off because of that food, that trigger or whatever. But the end goal is so you are free of dieting and you have free mind, and if you go to restaurant, you're not obsessing about this and that, right? But for just from my own experience, Brendan, that I've got issues with gluten, and as a non-celiac, gluten sensitivity, and that's never affected in my adulthood me as my digestion, but always affect my head, my brain. I would be getting fogginess, anxieties, I would be like more tired, fatigue, and headaches. And that is true story. But I have been working on things to improve that. And then that's again coming back to this this specialization of diets, then to start from the basics. But my goal always was for me, so one day I can have a piece of bread when I'm with my Spanish family. But I have learned that this does not work for me. So then you have to sometimes accept it. Shit, if you have problem because of this particular food, you better don't eat it, right? If you eat it, accept it that you're going to feel bad, right?
Yeah. You have to learn your body using the scientific method. Be a scientist in your, experiment, collect data, track results, see what works for you. There's nobody that can tell you what's going to work for you. You have to, and work with somebody that says that, and work with somebody that helps you find what works for you, rather than telling you, here's what I think you should do in a prescriptive way. That's not what an effective coach does. An effective coach helps you find what works best for you, but only you can find that.
You pick it. Coaching is important or is not?
It's essential, So here's the thing. I'm a huge advocate of the self-healing movement. Nicole LePere is my client, but she doesn't try to self-heal on her own. She works with me to get help on her health. So why are all of these self-healers? Here's what I think is going on. I think a lot of these people, they're unconsciously, spiritually bypassing the work that they know they need to do. And they say, I'm self-healing. No, you're not committing to working with a professional that's going to hold you accountable and coach you through the obstacles to make you do the work that you're unconsciously spiritually passing. So I'm all for self-healing, but don't try to do it all on your own. Get a coach that will help be a partner in your self-healing journey. That's what it's about.
100%. And I just want to point that Mr. Google is not an answer for everything. That's why you need a coach, and that's why you need someone who does some specialty. I'm always amused because sometimes I am getting ideas about health from someone who does business, and they building business, or they working in finance, right? And I would say, but why you don't take someone who specializes in this? Oh, because I Google, or I know this. But I don't build my business just by Googling. I'm trying always search for experts. So if you really want to get results that take you further, and that you don't lose motivation, and that you actually get better, I agree with you, Brendan. Take a coach. And sometimes I think coaching is even more important at the start than going into this all functional nutrition
100%.
And everything,
because
that sometimes is overwhelming, and people still cannot change their habits. They don't know how they got there. So, basic nutrition, as we're discussing, probably is enough. And here you work on understanding your motives and behaviors.
I really agree with that. And I have a lot of respect for functional medicine. That's the world that I live and operate in. So it's nothing against functional medicine, but I think your average functional, holistic, integrative health coach is more valuable than most functional medicine doctors, right? The health coach is going to actually help you create all the fundamental lifestyle habits that outperform any protocol that's expensive. It's not cost effective. We need more health coaching, less functional medicine overall, but functional medicine has its place.
Of course, yes. And I'm with you, right? I'm growing, and I love to meet new people with new perspectives, and many of my new friends and colleagues are also from that community.
Community is huge. That's one thing. Like CrossFit comes to mind. I think CrossFit, yeah, which I am a certified CrossFit coach. I used to coach CrossFit. It's not for everybody, but what the CrossFit movement did really well, it got millions of people around the world moving functionally at high intensity in a social community environment, eating more real food, kind of paleo style, taking some basic supplements. CrossFit was I think CrossFit by itself has done more for public health than functional medicine, period. And the community aspect is one of the most important things. Like I love my yoga community. When I did CrossFit, I loved my CrossFit community. We are a social species. We need to be social. Social isolation has actually been shown to decrease neurogenesis, which is how we repair our brain. So social isolation leads to mental illness, neurodegeneration. We need to be social. We need to be socially connected. Social isolation is part of one of the tactics that's being used against us right now.
Yeah, 100% agree. Brendan, you grew up in this CrossFit. I grew up at the gym, right? And before, as an athlete, was in between athletes, top athletes, and the energy and the power to drive me in life that I'm always have been taking from those communities is amazing. That's why in this era of lockdowns, in the moments of, social isolation, I think we want or we don't want, we don't have choice. We have to make move towards connecting people online. It is not what I would be thinking and doing like 3-4 years ago, right? Forget about this. How can I run class or something online? But as I said, I try to see this as an opportunity, and hopefully things will settle in a different way properly. Things won't be the same, but we just have to stop to moaning that we don't see people. We have to be proactive. It's the same thing like, oh, I'm getting unhealthy, oh, I'm getting overweight, oh, I'm saying, okay, but this is not just coming, do something about this. And I want to empathize with every single person that does not get an opportunity to be between family and be between friends. And I hear you and I feel for you, but the reason we're doing this with Brendan is to bring you hope and bring you solutions, because it's not about lack of solutions, it's about finding the solutions. That is my take on that. Oh, I got so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I'm battling the same issues everybody else is. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to see my family for Christmas because there's some family division over vaccines and COVID and all of that. It is dividing even my own immediate family. So I don't know that I'm going to get to spend the holidays with my family. But you know what? I'm doing something about it. I just got home from being out of town for 10 days and I got to see some of my closest friends that I haven't seen in 2 years. So I'm not going to let, some limitations hold me back. I'm going to go make a point and go see my loved ones, even if I have to go travel to do it. So
yeah. Brendan, just
go out of your way.
Straight to the point. We have to do something about this instead of being moaning that this happening to us. And that is human nature. We very quickly, because of our past traumas and triggers, probably from our childhood and whatever happened throughout the life, boom, we get in the moment of kind of the same, and brain quickly recognize the patterns, and boom, we go into feeling bad about ourselves and feeling sorry. So here is about message of hope, about empowering everyone. Self-care,
essential, although I think there's a little bit too much emphasis on the self these days. I think I think self-healing has gone a little bit too far. I think we need to focus on collective healing. I think there's a lot of healing that can happen when we're helping others heal and that kind of indirectly heals ourselves. So self-care, yes. Self-healing, yes. But it's not just about me, 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 me. You know, go help others, go serve others. You'll find a lot of healing in service to others.
Yes. You know, I'm thinking about this always from perspective with self-care of mothers and women, because I found that they are the one who always focusing on nurturing others. Maybe that's why I also picked this word, because I tell them go and self-care, because usually they are doing too much for others, right? That's why I'm coming from this angle here. And I always tell them, if you self-care for yourself more, your child is going to be better, your relationship is going to be better. So as I have been thinking about this, Brendan, what you say and what I say coming to the same. We're going to be better when we help ourselves, but ultimately we have to think about the relationships outside of us.
Right. Yeah, there's a balance to be struck there, because it's like if you don't do enough self-care, you can't show up to serve others. But you don't want self-care to become this neurotic selfish. You're just obsessing over your own well-being. You know, the point is to do enough self-care so you can show up to provide service to the collective and your loved ones.
Yes, because I cannot tell a mother, just don't care for your child. Right?
Mothers are I'm glad because I've worked with more mothers than any other demographic throughout my career. That's always the thing, is the mothers are not doing enough self-care because they're always putting their kids and spouse first. And it's like, well, don't forget to take care of yourself while you're taking care of others, right?
And I think women generally, they come in from work, they always worry, oh, this person, that person, I have to tell them you lost the job, I have to. This is so much pressure coming, and women are definitely in the nurturing part is very big piece of their job in the world.
Absolutely.
Awareness?
Awareness is what drives everything, right? So any sort of transformation starts with awareness of self, awareness of others, awareness of the environment. So just becoming aware and developing that mindfulness, that's the vehicle through which we can make any transformation.
And for me, awareness is a starting point. You know, that's what we have in today. This is awareness, this to bring you awareness that you may haven't thought about certain topics the way we're discussing, right? So this is your awareness for 2022. Body positive, body shame. That is the big one, right?
That is a deep one. That one has gotten kind of bastardized in modern culture, unfortunately, because we need more body awareness, and we shouldn't shame others. Shame is not a constructive tool for transformation or anything good. You know, shame is a toxic, negative emotion. So we don't want to shame people into transformation or shame them into improving their health. That doesn't work. But we also can't be excessively, we'll just accept everything. Like right now, there's kind of this movement of radical body acceptance, like normalize obesity, accept obesity. We cannot do that. Obesity should not be accepted. It is not healthy. It is a burden on our debt, our economy, our medical system. So we can't accept illness, right? And that's where things have gotten too far, of body acceptance to the point of accepting obesity, accepting chronic disease. We can't do that, but we don't use shame as the antidote.
I think you said this so beautifully, and I agree with you, and I will not explore this further. Health prevention.
I mean, health prevention, prevention, it's almost like health building for illness prevention. You know what I mean? The more that we can focus on building the collective health, the more that we're going to be able to prevent, you know, the illness, the infection, the depression, and kind of everything in between. So, you know, resilience is earned. Immune resilience is earned, metabolic resilience, psychological resilience, you know, resilience is earned through conditioning.
For me, I think, again, we come into the point where prevention is coming to the surface of everything, instead thinking about, you know, taking pill for this, drug for this, or that for this. I think we have to shift from illness into wellness and start to think from the back door: nutrition, exercise, sleep, movement, relationships, anti-inflammatory diets, you know, getting away from toxicity and keeping our foundations right to then build health.
Brendan had to go. Brendan, thank you so much for giving your time. You are a wonderful person. Merry Christmas to you and your family, from myself, my husband, my family, my little daughter, and from HPM Wellness. We finished on the home wellness. Home wellness in 2022 is going to only grow and develop. And if you come back to work outside of home, if you come back to the gyms, if you come back to be able to go to spas and health holidays, health retreats, you know what, you cannot stop to caring for your well-being at home. It's as important as your well-being and creation of your environment that supports your health outside of home, right? So if you don't have time to go to gym, now you know that you have opportunity to train from home. If you cannot go to spa, you know that now you have opportunity to make your bathroom looking like a beautiful spa. You can buy tons of amazing organic natural products. You can get good products. You can try some new supplements. You can try new recipes. You can try different recipes. You can try different spices, different ingredients. You can try to create relationships in a different way. Maybe you want to deepen relationship with your partner. It does not need to be your friend that you have been spending every single free time you had. Maybe you have noticed something that maybe my relationship needs to be nourished. So home wellness stays with us in 2022, and if we get in an opportunity to creating and further create wellness outside of home, that's what we're going to do. So to be honest, we get in double nourishment, from wellness inside to wellness outside. Holistic health and lockdown. I want to bring here a message of hope. See this as an opportunity for you to grow in this difficult situation, and an opportunity to build resilience, and opportunity to know yourself better, an opportunity to overcome fear. So we finished our Christmas special, and I would love to say thank you to Brendan once again. Thank you to everyone for joining, for listening, for being supportive through whole year. We are so grateful. We're growing slowly with our community, but we're trying to deliver always quality, and we really hope that you connect with our message, and that our message brings you hope. As a founder of HPM Wellness, I would love to wish you Merry Christmas, and that you stay mindful and present wherever you are.